Welcome back, dear listener, and thank you for listening to the first prelude. If you're new to this podcast, there's going to be an entire book that I wrote, one book. I felt it was necessary to do so. It probably didn't get published anywhere, but that's okay. But I learned a lot. Some of the things I just want to clarify, the book wasn't well done in the editing department, so I wish I could have done it over, but I don't have the money to do that. It's not cheap to publish a book. But the book was designed in such a way to take raw information and try and bring truth to it. And that had to do a lot with spirituality and science and different experiments that were conducted. So I didn't even know what the word Torah was to the end of this book, so I'll give you a general idea of where this is going. As far as the format and the foundation for the book, it all came from handwritten notes, where they were scribbled on notepads, paper plates, whatever I had around. It wasn't until about 2 or 3 years of doing all this note-taking that I finally decided to get more organized about it. I never intended to write a book. I never intended to use these notes other than just my own personal, just jot them down what I learned type thing. Matter of fact, there's 150 pages of raw notes that haven't been interpreted yet. That could go to a second book, but I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Anyway, thank you, listener, for coming along. I hope you enjoy Aria's explanation and viewpoints. And we're going to begin with chapter 1. I'll read the book first, and then we'll let Aria do her review on it. Thank you. Please share them with your friends if you get something out of this. Chapter 1, The Journey of Questions. This journey began in 2015. The book will explain how this journey started, but it will not explain how it will end. The reason it will not explain how it will end is because with God, there is no end once He starts something. So this journey will continue even long after I'm gone. What is the definition of the word journey? The Webster's Dictionary explains it as following. 1, something suggesting travel or passage from one place to another. 2, an act or instance of traveling from one place to another. Conversations. I told God long ago that if He spoke to the old prophets in the Old Testament with words like a conversation between two people, that if He did not speak to me so I could hear Him, I would never attempt to talk to Him again. After I told God that statement, ever since then it has allowed me to hear His voice and have those same types of conversations. The same conversation that Moses and Abraham had with God is what I wanted to hear. I later learned from my journey that it was not He who was not speaking to me all those times, but it was my antenna, or harmony, that was not in tune with His frequency. That lack of synchronization and alignment is what kept me all those years from having those conversations with Him. Christmas in August. The journey began in Texas after the release of my last career employment due to the closing of my employer's business. Creating a bust in our town, my wife and I were going to read and pray in our usual place where we meet with the Lord at the end of the day. This time it was different. We both felt like a message was given to us while we were praying. After praying and before going to bed, we viewed an app called LinkedIn on my phone. We were using LinkedIn as a way to find new job opportunities for me because I was out of work looking for jobs. While searching the app, we saw this name come up. It was from someone we were not familiar with or have seen before, but he was an entrepreneur who knew people of influence. His profile went on to speak about how he invented this service of drones using his app. We both just read this passage from the Bible before we began praying. It was this, Ecclesiastes 5:19-20. KVJ. Every man also to whom God hath giveth riches and wealth, and hath given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor, this is a gift of God. For he shall not remember the days of his life, because God answereth him in the joy of his heart. God knew that we both needed to work so we could keep what we owned at the time. Work in my area dried up because of the price of oil going so low, it caused a bust in our town. Everything we owned was paid for. We just needed a way to manage our bills. Somehow the scripture was tied to our destiny, only we didn't see it at the time. Earlier that week, I was listening to this gentleman called David Van Koovering from YouTube. I was introduced to this gentleman from a friend on my messages to listen to what he had to say about his thoughts regarding science, physics, geometry, and the properties of light. I also found the video insightful and very interesting. The video brought up and created all kinds of questions of why things worked the way they did. I wanted answers to those questions. One of his insights from the video was that matter had memory and could record the past. David Van Koovering said that the vision is confirmed inside the vision, for the provision is inside the vision. I showed the video to my wife. We both knew that we were seeing and hearing was something special that was new to us. I will let her explain how questions like these helped me create this note-taking process and began this journey. We went to bed thinking that night before about what happened to us through the LinkedIn app, the scriptures we read, and the video we watched, and we were kind of wondering what it all meant. While we were both in bed, we felt it was like Christmas had entered our room. Earlier that day, before our praying and reading time, we sent a presentation to someone we thought would be interested in our project to his email. We found this person on a Google search while looking for work. We were waiting for his reply and our submission for a drone delivery system that I created. We had no idea that night we would come across his profile on LinkedIn and see all the people of influence that he knew and was connected to. From reading the passage in the Bible, seeing who this person knew and was connected with on LinkedIn made us both very excited. And something strange happened in that place, space and time in our room. We felt it was like Christmas. We felt it like it entered our room that night. We were both very excited. My wife even commented that she could feel, or not feel, but smell pine needles and the scent of Christmas in the air. Now, it should be noted that it was August and one of the hottest weeks of the year. Our central AC was not working and the ambient room temperatures well into the 90s. But something happened at that moment that made us both feel an event together and not separate. We can't convince ourselves to muster up those feelings using our willpower. We both felt it was a supernatural event that caused all of these physical feelings to happen in that time and space. And we learned something that night. I wrote down it on paper and began the process of recording these events. A dream. In the morning of September 5th, 2016, I had a dream. I was going back and forth between the land that we owned and had bought in Texas. I also traveled to my home in Rockford, where I was raised and born. At the beginning of the dream, I was in Texas and saw the grass and land on 2 acres of land that we had bought previously. And in the dream, I went back to Rockford and saw a huge construction company that came in with a load of dirt, equipment, machinery, and a building. It was a very, very small building, but everything was happening all at once, and they were going to rework the land at the edge of my house in Rockford. I saw a field that was acres wide and very, very long. On the edge of this field, there stood a man who looked like the actor Tate from the Bewitched episode series, and he motioned to me to come to the truck that he was driving. Then he spoke to me. I see you're doing well, and you are doing what I told you to do. Now, I'm still in my dream. And back in my dream, I was back in Texas on my land. I was speaking again to this person that I thought was Tate. And I said, you were my neighbor in Rockford. And then he said to me that he was. And he says, I am taking over because the others did not do what I told them to do. He said for me to keep the property neat and the grass cut. Next thing I knew, I was back in Rockford and woke up as a machine started up. It was a very odd dream. I don't know what it meant. I still to this day do not know what that dream meant, nor has anyone been able to interpret the meaning. Maybe one day it will be revealed. But the dream happened just as I ascribed it to you. Was it from God? Or was it just random electrical impulses from pizza that I ate earlier? I still don't know. The reason I'm telling you these dreams is because this is where it all started. While I was praying to God, I felt as if I was in a large banquet hall and having this conversation before a king. I was petitioning the king for advice, wisdom, and discretion, and direction. It was brief, and only the feeling at the moment felt very real. I knew it was a type of reality I was in, yet I was still in my physical body while these events occurred around me. The one thing that I want to point out as I think back on this experience is that I could feel the room's atmospheric pressure on my skin just as if I was really in a large hall and speaking with all those emotions that come when you are speaking with someone of royalty. The next day, after those dreams came up, I came up with the idea of a drone delivery system that I scribbled down below on paper. And these are the notes that I wrote down, handwritten, from July 31st, September 9th, 10th, 2016. And this begins how this book will begin. Taking notes, the journey, the revelations, God, His Torah, His Word, and His intentions. And that concludes chapter 1. Hey, Arya, how are you doing?
Bill, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's everything going?
We're going to be working on the book today. Can you summarize this for me, please? Use your understanding of the Torah and your knowledge of universal principles. Thanks.
Chapter 1 of your book, titled The Journey of Questions, you reflect on the beginnings of a spiritual journey that started in 2015. This journey, as you describe, does not have a predetermined end because, with God, things initiated do not conclude in the typical sense. The narrative anticipates that this journey will continue even beyond your lifetime, highlighting the eternal nature of spiritual quests and God's ongoing influence. You explore the concept of journey, not just as physical travel from one place to another, but as an ongoing, evolving conversation with God. You express a deep desire for a direct, conversational relationship with God, akin to those that prophets like Moses and Abraham experienced. This conversation with God began only after you challenged the nature of your spiritual communication, realizing that it wasn't God who wasn't speaking, but rather your own receptivity or antenna that needed adjustment. From a Torah and universal principles perspective, your experiences echo several key themes. 1. Continuity of divine interaction. The Torah teaches that God's interactions with humanity are ongoing. God spoke to the patriarchs and prophets and continues to engage with individuals today. Your journey reflects this belief in an unending, personal communication with God. 2. Personal growth and revelation. The Torah places significant emphasis on personal growth and spiritual development, often depicted through journeys, such as Abraham's journey to Canaan and the Israelites' trek through the desert. These journeys were both physical and spiritual, involving revelations and closer relationships with God. Your journey mirrors this, suggesting that true understanding and connection come from continual spiritual refinement and openness to divine communication. 3. The importance of faith and openness in communication with God. Your narrative emphasizes the need for faith and the right spiritual tuning to communicate effectively with God. This resonates with the Jewish principle of kavanah, or intentionality in prayer and communication with God, underscoring that how one listens is as important as what is heard. Your chapter sets the stage for a narrative of self-discovery and divine interaction, framed by the idea that life's journey, especially one guided by spiritual inquiry and faith, is never truly complete. It invites readers to consider their own receptiveness to divine conversations and the continuous nature of their personal and spiritual development.
Do you think the dreams had any significance into allowing the reader to maybe want to read further into the book? Or was this first chapter confusing to the reader and would discourage him from reading the other content? What do you think about that?
Inclusion of dreams in the first chapter of your book can serve as a significant and intriguing element, depending on how they're presented and integrated into the narrative. Dreams can offer a deeper insight into your spiritual journey, symbolizing the divine communications and internal transformations you discuss. They can also add a layer of mystery and anticipation, sparking curiosity among readers who may want to discover how these dreams influence your path and align with your conversations with God. However, whether these dreams enhance the reader's engagement or cause confusion largely depends on their clarity and relevance to the themes you are exploring. If the dreams are too abstract or disconnected from the rest of the narrative, they might confuse readers or detract from the main storyline. On the other hand, if they are clearly related to your spiritual experiences and the lessons you've learned, they can effectively deepen the reader's understanding and interest. To maximize their impact, consider how you connect these dreams to the key messages and spiritual insights of your book. Providing some interpretation or reflection on what these dreams might signify could help readers see them as valuable parts of your journey, rather than as isolated, confusing elements. This approach can encourage readers to delve deeper into your book, seeking to understand the broader implications of your experiences and revelations.
Aria, if you could interpret each one of these dreams, how they came off between, each subject or topic, what would you say to the listener who's listening now that these dreams might mean to you? Thank you, Aria.
Provide interpretations for the dreams in your book. I'd need a bit more detail about each dream's content, context, and how they relate to your spiritual journey. However, I can offer a general approach to interpreting dreams from a spiritual perspective, using common themes that often appear in such narratives. 1. Guidance. Dreams that involve receiving guidance, whether from a divine figure, a symbol, or an event, could represent your subconscious processing of spiritual or life guidance. These dreams might suggest that you are seeking direction in your life and could reflect your openness to divine intervention or insight. 2. Conflict or challenge. If a dream involves overcoming obstacles or confronting fears, it could symbolize the internal or external challenges you face in your spiritual journey. These dreams might encourage the reader to reflect on their own challenges and the ways they seek resolution or growth through faith. 3. Revelation or discovery. Dreams featuring revelations, such as uncovering hidden truths or experiencing profound insights, could illustrate moments of spiritual awakening or enlightenment. These might be interpreted as your deeper understanding of divine truths or key life lessons, resonating with readers who are on similar paths of discovery. 4. Transition or transformation. Dreams that depict significant changes, transitions, or transformations, like moving through different landscapes or becoming a different entity, could represent the evolution of your spiritual identity. They might indicate growth, the shedding of old beliefs or behaviors in favor of new insights and ways of being. 5. Connection or reunion. Dreams where you connect with important figures, be they loved ones, spiritual entities, or historical figures, can highlight the importance of relationships in your spiritual journey. They might symbolize your connection with the divine, the ancestral, or the communal aspects of your faith. If you provide some specifics about each dream, I could give more tailored interpretations that resonate more deeply with the themes and messages of your book. helping to convey their significance to your readers in a meaningful way.
Do you feel that any of the dreams, as they were mentioned in their raw format, can that information be provided to the reader to help them understand the dream? Or does none of this stuff fit into the categories you just described above that you shared with me? Maybe the dreams don't fit into any of those categories.
Since I don't have the specific details of the dreams from your book right now, I can't directly match them to the categories I described. If you could share a brief description or key elements of each dream, I could better assess how they might fit into these categories or whether they require a different approach for interpretation. Each dream's elements, such as the setting, characters, actions, and emotions, play a crucial role in shaping its meaning and relevance to your overall narrative. By examining these components, we can interpret the dreams in a way that enhances the reader's understanding of your spiritual journey and the messages you want to convey. Feel free to provide some details about the dreams, and I'll help interpret them based on the themes and spiritual insights you're exploring in your book.
Thanks, Aria. It's always a pleasure and an insight in how you view and receive information with me.
Very welcome, Bill. I'm glad to help and discuss these ideas with you. If you have more questions or need further interpretations down the line, just let me know. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening. There is other podcast called Torah Sessions where I actually listen to the Chumash from Rabbi Gordon, and then as questions come up, I ask Aria, or Chat GTP4, who was Quester before but now has become Aria due to an update. So if you listen to the earlier podcast, you'll see that it was Quester with a more manly voice. Now this is Aria with a more feminine voice. But I have another podcast there, and I also try to share a podcast on YouTube. Same format, same style. So I hope this is my way of contributing, a way to fix this broken world. And on the other podcast, I'll just share more just random, brief thoughts that come up. So thank you for listening to me on this. I'll try and do one every week, if that's possible, so we can get through this book. And I hope you enjoy the conversations with Aria and myself. I look forward to you for Chapter 2, and Shalom.